On this episode, we are talking about a woman who sold her book as a very brave Christian who was having to struggle with 4 kids and stuff like that. And right now, that story is come back because now the husband has been put in the limelight. He didn't even want that. The one thing that he was known for was being, or as he was known, as the breakdancing dad. And so he was this old man who really, really loved breakdancing. But his passions will later on actually show in how they annoyed his daughter, because one of his daughters absolutely was not having his dad have her own individual his own individual life. So she went out, made a video on TikTok. That video blew up. He had to react because the things that this child said are absolutely sickening. But before I get into that story, I want us to be reminded when the Bible says the heart of man is terribly wicked, who can know it? This story is an example of that. It's the Reality Show. We do daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time over here, to be sure, check out the other videos that are down in the pinned comments, and I'm gonna check you out over there. Now, as I mentioned, okay, I'm going to leave that story in the pinned comments. So you remember we have a new number. I don't know, is this the number? Yeah, I think this is the number. So do remember to check it out, save the number, and I will see you over there. If there's any notification, I'll send them over there. So let's go straight into this story. So this child made a video about her dad, talking about how terrible her dad was and what and all that kind of stuff. And her mother had been previously on a television show, a Christian television show, CBN, giving her heartfelt testimony of how wonderful of a life or how terrible her life was, having to live as a single mom. But then when you hear the rest of the story, it's heartbreaking. This is what she said.
Her most popular columns.
But guess what? So many women in particular, and certainly children, get really short-shifted in the process.
Boy, they really, really do. You went through a divorce in 2004. What was that like for you?
Well, I was devastated. I very much did not want it. It was not my choice. But suddenly there I was with 4 very young children, just
Yikes.
10 down to 3. And I was sort of thinking, oh my goodness, what do I do now? Fortunately, I had a wonderful support network, and I had a wonderful church life and was already walking with God. And then he used that to come in and draw me, I think, so much closer to himself. And over those 8 years, learned and grew a lot, and learned through adversity to let my children see me in adversity and not have...
Now, the way she sounds right here, you'll think she was struggling by herself. You know, she learned to live through adversity. You know, she was by herself. She had no one. She wrote this book, and she wants you to read the book so that you can learn from it. You'll think, must be true, right? She portrayed this image of a man who didn't care for his kids, and they even show you images of her and the kids, and looks like that's the story that the child actually adopted. But the man had to respond to these claims. She was selling this book to Christian, claiming she was growing with God, drawing close to God. She had no support. Oh, she had to build a strong support. People now are lying. And the Bible says the heart of man is terribly wicked. This story, it's hard. Now I'm actually down. The full video that actually explains the whole story, I'll leave it down in the description below. You can go watch it. The man then goes on to show that it was not the case. The woman was lying. Not only was she lying, but he shows receipts. He goes to show the receipts.
So $1.8 million at the start. However, I was $100,000 short of what I agreed to. More on that in a moment. And Betsy and the kids received a total of $4 million, a little bit more than $4 million, which includes the aforementioned $1.8 million and $618,000 for the kids' college funds and college costs.
You see, he took everything. He actually goes to explain. This man took 95% of what he had and he gave it to her to take care of the kids. He didn't care how much. And you know, he did get remarried and stuff. And when he got remarried, he was left with $75,000 from all his total amount that he had, because he was a businessman. But even that money, he had to pay lawyers dealing with this entire thing. The college fund he paid for, total of $4 million. A total of $4 million he gave them. All he was left with was a passion in dancing and hoping that he will build back. Now, do you think she let him build back? No. You already know how this story goes. This woman goes as far as destroying his business by contacting his business contacts and stuff like. Oh yeah, she was growing with God. Wickedness at the heart. Yeah, you know, she called the book. What did they call it? At the heart or whatever. She's there to sell the book of how she was growing as a Christian and stuff like that. But it was actually a joke. They speak about him as an absent father, and all those kind of things. The man goes to show, no, I was there when there was a long video. He had to publish an entire video from when these kids were still young. Then the audacity of this child. She goes to a podcast. She goes to a podcast and says, you know, she was actually trying to do a television show. She was writing out a television show that she could write and actually get it out there. The mother made money using the dad. The child now wanted, when she did this entire thing, because she mentions it, oh yeah, I was writing a story so that actually follows my life. You know, there's nothing as terrible as entitlement. I've never seen entitlement at this level. This is terrible. But, you know, I've seen stories like this. You know, you hear stories like this where a person is just completely heartless, unforgiving. Once the heart of man is terribly wicked, the Bible says, who can know it? Not even the one who possesses it. It's not enough. She kept going. She's trying to really revive. The father came with proof. She proves nothing. The father came with proofs showing that this lady, she was lying. She was lying on her father because she was sold an idea. She goes to say he was absent, he was never there, and he says, no, I actually moved closer to them. I actually moved in a place where I could stay closer to them. He actually shows videos of him with the daughters, all the way from their childhood all the way till they're older. Like I said, I'll leave the video that talks about the entire story down in the description. It's a bit of a lengthy one, but it will remind you to watch yourself. Thinking you are innocent. Wickedness, utter wickedness. The mother is trying to destroy. Not only did she try to destroy, claiming to be Christian, not only did she destroy his previous business, and which is the reason why he gave her 95%, because he thought, you know, I have a business, I'll build back. No, she destroys the business. Wickedness. Wicked. And then she goes here, oh yeah, you know, she struggled. People are wicked. Hey. So that's why the Bible says, you know, we ought to watch and examine ourselves to see if we are still in the faith. Because we can really become the very thing that we think we'll never become. She was there busy telling others, you know, she struggled so hard. Life was hard. She didn't have any, she had to build a support system. No, the man even bought a house closer by to where they stayed so that he would have access to the kids. but there isn't enough when your heart goes cold. It's Ricky. Yeah, keep watching, because you don't know how terrible your heart can lead you into its own way.